Buddy, my name is Greg Helbeck, and welcome to this week's REI Weekly Lesson. So if you're not familiar with me, my name is Greg Helbeck, and I have bought and sold well over 150 properties in my 8-year real estate investing career. And the goal of this podcast and YouTube channel is to share what I've learned with my listeners/watchers so you can learn these lessons without having to pay the price, right? So today I'm going to talk about flipping houses 101. So let's define flipping houses. So I would define flipping houses as buying a property, closing on it, and then putting some sort of a dollar amount of work into that property to add value and force appreciation, and then selling that property hopefully for a profit, right? So let's talk about the key success components of flipping houses. And the first one that is the most important, and they always say this in all the trainings, is you make your money when you buy, right? So the way that you can ensure making money on most of your flips, because they're certainly all not going to be home runs, ask me how I know, is you got to buy the property at a discount off of the current market value, not even the ARV. You got to buy it at a discount off of the as-is value as well. Because if you buy the property at a discount at the right number, and let's define that real quick. Buying the property at a discount just means if the property's worth 300 grand, if you can buy that property at 75% of that number minus the actual repairs it's going to cost, you're going to have enough margin in your deal where you're going to be able to turn around and sell that property and obviously pay all the costs and still walk away with a profit. And I would say 75% is a pretty good rule of thumb, 80% in a tight market like Reno or California. And then even in some less competitive markets like the Midwest kind of market, you're probably going to want to buy that house at 60 to 70% of market value. So you want to have a 20 to 30% margin built in minus the repairs, because that is how you're going to ensure a profit. So that's step number one, is you got to buy the property at a discount. I'm sure if you've flipped houses before, you've heard this before. It's brought up a lot because it's true. The second component of flipping houses that you need to understand is you need to know how to work with contractors and understand what stuff costs to fix. Because if you're a brand new investor and you've never done this before and you don't know what repairs are going to cost, you're going to get ripped off most likely, because you're not going to know that a kitchen should cost 12 grand and the contractor's going to tell you 20 grand. And you're going to think it's 20 grand, and you could have found a contractor or been a better negotiator. You could have saved yourself $8,000. So you need to understand what it costs to renovate properties. And obviously, this is not going to be a detailed training on that. I did a podcast with my friend Jeremiah Dalton. If you search back into the query of the Real Estate Investing Fast Track, we break down rehab costs to the letter in like a 45-minute interview. So definitely check that out. But you need to understand how to work with contractors and how to understand what stuff is going to cost to fix. That's critical. The third step to flipping houses is you need to know what the property is going to sell for when it's fixed up, when you've forced appreciation, when you've added value. So you got to be pretty accurate with your number, because if you misprice a property and you price it too high, the thing that kills a lot of flippers is high days on market and high carrying costs, especially in an expensive market. You could be paying a couple $100s a day in holding costs. So every day you own that house, it's just going to cost you more and more money. So you got to understand, what is that property realistically going to sell for? And the way that you do that, obviously this is not a detailed training on comping and selling properties, but you got to look at what similar properties in the condition that you're going to get your house in sold for, and how long did it take for those to sell. Because a lot of people see comps at a number that they like, but they don't look at the days on market. And in a healthy market, when you're flipping houses, you want a low days on market. You want properties going under contract within 3 weeks, within 21 days, right? That's super critical, because if you see a lot of your comparable sales have high days on market, which means they've been on the market for over 60 days, 70 days, the property was mispriced and it's going to take a long time to sell. So you got to understand not only what is that property going to sell for, but based on those comparables, how long did it take for those properties to go into contract? Because you want a low days on market. You want a limited supply in a flipping market. You want low inventory, and you don't want to have to compete with a bunch of other properties. Like, you want to have, maybe 1 to 3 houses in that neighborhood that are up for sale, or they're under contract and they're in the middle of getting sold, or maybe there's a couple of recent comps. But you don't want to see an oversupply of houses, because then buyers are going to have a lot more properties to pick from, which ultimately is going to lower your chances of your house selling for whatever number you want it to sell for. So to summarize this and make it a very simple video, you need to understand that you make your money on the buy. You need to understand how to buy properties at a discount. That really comes from marketing and referrals, and that's a whole other podcast topic. You got to understand how to work with contractors and how to understand what repairs are going to cost. And then you need to be really good at understanding what the property is going to sell for most likely when it's fixed up. And you got to look at the prices, And you also got to look at the days on market, because as a flipper, you want low days on market. You don't want to be stuck with inventory, because every day you own that property, it's going to cost you, a certain amount of dollars per day. Whether you own it with a mortgage or whether you own it free and clear, you're still paying taxes and insurance, etc. So hopefully this was a good intro video. If you're interested in flipping houses and you want to partner with me, whether you want to wholesale me a property, I'm an actual buyer, or whether you want to just JV a deal together and do a wholesale together and we can split it, and you're in Reno, San Diego, the Hudson Valley, or Delaware. Once again, you're in Reno, San Diego, the Hudson Valley, or Delaware. Those are the areas that we do business in. Send me an email, greg@velocityhousebuyers.com, or you can send me a message on Instagram at grego_37. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care.